And
Segway.
whew, did you watch the press conference at all last night?
I did, and then I just watched the weigh-in where Strickland just would not stop shooting his mouth off.
Yeah. Well, so the press conference last night, I would say Khamzat Chimaev kind of lost the crowd a little bit.
Yeah,
He
he's
he
not
was
a big
being weird
entertainer.
talking about he kept calling Sean Strickland poor, and like whenever Strickland would talk about his y- not to get us demonetized, but Hamzat has some weird connections with a Chechnyan dictator,
Yes.
Kadyrov. And anytime he like, say like, hey, that guy Chimaev would just go, I got 10 G Wagons, like you poor. But it was a little weird. But and then at the end of the
I don't
press
know if I even
conference
get
and the
that
face
for a
off,
minute.
Hamza Chimaev did a pretty cheap shot. He went for an oblique kick against Sean Strickland, who famously has a compromised left leg from his motorcycle accident maybe like 6 7 years ago
Boo-hoo.
at this point. Yeah, and Chimaev went for the oblique stomp, trying to or I guess he did hyperextend his knee. That was pretty dirty. But all that
Yeah,
aside, let's get to what everyone's waiting for. To quote
let's
the
talk about
consummate
it.
professional John Anik, every now and again, an athlete comes along who captivates the attention of the entire sport. Enter Hamzat Chimaev. Chimaev's life before the UFC was as rugged as it gets. He was born in Chechnya amid civil unrest, immigrated to Sweden, where he lived in a closet at the gym he trained in. He burst onto the scene in the summer of 2020 at a UFC Fight Island, where he racked up 3 victories over the course of 67 days, only absorbing 2 combined strikes. He got 3 fights, only punched twice in those 3 fights combined. Since then, however, his antics have put him at odds with UFC fans, missing
Yep,
weight by 8 pounds,
I'm
jeopardizing
one
the
of those guys.
UFC. His inactivity and a boringly dominant performance against fan favorite DDP last year. Now for the challenger, it'll be pretty quick. It'll be pretty quick. Then I'll kick it over to you.
All right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Former middleweight champion Sean Strickland carries his own baggage in the form of childhood trauma as a forgotten, abused youth. I don't want to get this video demonetized, as I've said. So I'll just say that Sean Strickland's upbringing was a for profit prison's wet dream. His brash persona following that motorcycle accident has consistently kept the UFC brass on edge.
All
Sean
right.
Strickland and Hamzat don't like each other. Go for it, Tyler.
Yeah, and okay, look, I get it, but everybody's got to pass. A couple like Strickland can't get out of his own way in terms of the media sense, and I know the guys like Rogan will say that that's a good thing for the sport. I kind of disagree. I don't think you should have a guy who's saying that Ronda Rousey is a loser for expressing mental health concerns after a loss. Like that sits not well with me. Chimaev's beard is weird. I don't know who that dude is who is always with him. That is like his clone. It's also a weird thing. Look, everybody knows when Strickland fights, he's the guy who will just keep advancing at you, right? He'll just keep advancing, arms down, you know what I mean? Trying to like get you like with a high boxing, with hold on one second, with some high
The
pressure
Philly
striking
show.
Philly shell, you know what I mean? The Ikari roll, shoulder roll defense. Wow, that is a tongue twister. And then just a lot of sharp jabs and relentless forward movement. This is where Chimaev's high pressure grappling and control for long periods. I think this is going to be an inverse of the Van versus Tetsuro fight, because I do think that Chimaev, with his conditioning and his pacing, is going to be able to get Strickland on the ground. Okay. He also does have a slight age differential there. So that's where the conditioning is going to come into play. Because as everybody who I've seen is talking about this, I do believe and I might not have texted you this, but the more I think about it, I do think it's going to be a long fight where these two seasoned fighters are going to actually be like trying to wait for the right moment, you know, kind of deal. So that's why, in actuality, I forget what I texted you, but I'm going to go with Chimaev over the distance. Partially a vibe pick, but also partially a gambler not trying to overthink it pick.
Okay, I like that. I'm gonna go a different route, and this
Hit
was
me.
a game time decision. I've been going back and forth. I even talked to my wife and tried to talk her through this. She didn't really offer much
She
feedback.
probably was like daydreaming so hard when you were
She was
talking to
on
her
she
about
was on
this.
a call for work, so she wasn't really listening. But Look, this morning at weigh-ins, Khamzat Chimaev was the very last person to weigh in. He made it about 20 minutes before the cutoff. So this fight almost got canceled, but he did weigh in at 185. He looked awful. And what I've since learned is that he was apparently planning to move up to light heavyweight. But once Strickland beat Anthony Hernandez back in February, they booked this one. So the tough weight cut was to be expected. But, when you essentially are on death's door Friday morning, it's hard to go out and fight 25 full minutes the next day,
That worries
36
me.
hours later. It's one where I didn't think Sean had much of a chance. I kind of assumed it was going. Originally had an early submission from Hamzat. Yeah, I think he was going to be able to get Sean down, and then Sean was going to make a mistake trying to get back to his feet. But man, I don't know, the tough weight cut. He's had a weird buildup to this fight where I almost suspect he might have gotten himself hurt or he might have an undisclosed injury. He trains his cardio with Coach Cal, who has notoriously overtrained fighters and led them to getting injuries, either
Mm,
in the
I
buildup
did
to the
not know
fight or
that.
the fight itself. I got a sneaky upset pick. I am going with Sean Strickland
Okay.
to get it done by late round, not TKO probably.
Kevin, gentlemen's bet time. Strickland wins. I wear a Commanders jersey on the next stream. Chimaev wins. You wear a Eagles jersey on the next stream.
There's gotta be better weighted odds for that. There it's gotta be
All
'cause
right.
this is huge. Oh,
All right. Before the fight starts, what I will do is I will find good, like, why am I blanking? When you make a bet and there's one side and then there's another side, what do you call those? The terms. I will come up
terms.
with better terms for this bet before the fight starts tomorrow, but we need to have something. I wish it was me just gambling, but my DraftKings account has basically become a donation to a hedge fund millionaire at this point. So I want to come up with some other kind of, you know, I want to come up with some stakes for this.
Okay, alright, I like that. Get into
All
it.
right.
Let's see, let's, recap the picks real quick
Yes,
here.
sir.